From NAB in Las Vegas, Otherworld Computing has new hardware and software to improve your video production workflows. This is MacVoices. MacVoices is supported by HelloFresh, America's #1 meal kit. Go to hellofresh.com/MacVoices16 and use code MacVoices16 for 16 free meals plus free shipping. MacVoices is at NAB in Las Vegas. I'm Chuck Joyner. Folks, every one of these shows we have to stop by the OWC booth to see what they're showing, what's new, what's hot. Sam is going to take us through one of those items this time. Sam, it's good to see you.
Hey, good to see you too. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. So what are we looking at here?
All right, so this is a little bit of a combination solution across a few of our products with the iPad Pro. And what we're really doing here is taking the iPad Pro and turning it into a desktop editing machine with a couple simple pieces of gear that we make. And so basically it all centers around our Go dock here, which is the first dock that has the power supply built in, so you're not going to be carrying a power supply brick around it. Everything's inside here, and it enables workflows that wouldn't be possible with other docks, bus-powered docks. And one of those workflows is with the iPad Pro, where basically through this one USB-C is connected to our Go dock, and then connected to the Go dock, we have our Envoy Pro Electron and our Envoy Pro Mini, and the iPad here is accessing media off of those drives, but what it's also doing is coming through also the Go dock. We have an HDMI out to this monitor, which enables this to be a full-on desktop editing machine via LumaFusion. And what's interesting about that is for very little money, you can go and take your iPad and a couple pieces of gear and suddenly be editing, at full speed, right from LumaFusion in an iPad, and suddenly you've got a dual monitor device and you're cutting content probably with your hotel room TV and a HDMI cable.
I love the hotel TV idea because not a lot of us want to carry an extra monitor if we don't have to.
Yeah, so it enables, if you're a mobile content creator, it allows you to be very resourceful without that much of an expense and really, be able to turn around content with the screen real estate you need and be able to work probably the way you would want with a desktop computer. But all you've really got to carry around is an iPad, a dock, and a drive.
You mentioned LumaFusion too, and we've talked to them. I know they're doing some multicam stuff that's coming out, I think they said tomorrow as we record this. And it really does. I mean, it's as good as Final Cut or Premiere on your main machine.
What's specifically interesting around the LumaFusion multicam is if you have a fast turnaround where this may be relevant for you, is you might fire up LumaFusion, you might take a couple of our camera cards, our Atlas cards that just launched, and they're extremely fast depending on what camera you're shooting with. You could pop those into our readers, connect them into the dock instead of the drives, and not even need to necessarily copy that media, but instead actually work directly from the camera cards themselves as hard drives and have your multicam come in, and you're using your multicam feeds as hard drives, working with multicam direct from this iPad with a second monitor in exactly the way that I talked about. It's probably the most immediate access to media and fast turnaround. You can't go faster than that.
I don't need my studio anymore.
You might not, depending on what you're doing.
I want to be real clear on that though. So you're talking about in that scenario, you'd be editing the footage right off of the cards.
It could be dangerous, but in some scenarios, if speed is more important than redundancy, it might be the fastest way from point A to point B, and it might allow you to post content far faster than you'd ever be able to do it.
On the dock, I want to make sure, we said this is the first one without a power supply.
Yeah.
You still plug it into the wall. It's not running off of bus power, but you don't have to carry around that big charging brick.
Exactly. So there's no second piece of a brick with a wire that you need to plug in, and that oftentimes is larger than the dock itself that you're carrying. This is all in. The problem with bus power docks is that you can't really have as many devices plugged into it, and things may not perform the way you need them to. So you could easily use a travel dock as well for some of the aspect of what we're doing, but for professional workflows, the Go dock may be a better option because it's going to deliver the performance of a desktop dock without an external power supply.
And there are ways around this, but practically, sometimes hotels aren't the most generous with their electrical outlets.
And that's the thing. If you don't want to worry about it, this is the most professional portable dock you can buy.
How about pricing on the setup?
So for the Go dock, you're going to look at probably somewhere around $300 area, depending on what size of capacity of drive for the Envoy Pro Mini and Electron, anywhere from like $70 to $200 or so. And then for an external monitor, you might use the hotel room TV.
HDMI cable.
And an HDMI cable, there it is. So, it's a lot of functionality you can add for really not that much money.
Outstanding. Thanks for showing it to us.
Hey, my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
This edition of MacVoices is supported by HelloFresh. Go to hellofresh.com/MacVoices16 and use the code MacVoices16 for 16 free meals plus free shipping. When the spring sunshine is calling your name, don't call for takeout. Get HelloFresh instead. Their quick and easy meals make feeding the family a cinch, and without the high price tag. Their new fast and fresh options are ready in just 15 minutes or less. This May, HelloFresh is celebrating Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month. Try limited-time, authentic recipes created in partnership with Chef Serbi Sani of New York's Tagmo restaurant and enjoy a cultural taste tour right in your own kitchen. That's one thing I love about HelloFresh. It isn't the same old thing day in, day out. They deliver old favorites along with new, interesting options for me to explore. Go to hellofresh.com/MacVoices16 and use the code MacVoices16 for 16 free meals plus free shipping. Again, that's hellofresh.com/MacVoices16 and use the code MacVoices16 for 16 free meals plus free shipping. Thanks to HelloFresh, America's #1 meal kit, for supporting MacVoices. MacVoices is at NAB in Las Vegas. I'm Chuck Joyner. Folks, we're in the OWC booth. This time we've got Larry O'Connor and Farshid to talk about another one of their new hot products. Larry, good to see you as always.
Yeah, likewise, Chuck. Thanks for coming by.
Hey, thank you for having me. And Farshid, nice to meet you for the first time.
Same here. Thank you.
So what are we showing?
Well, I got to give credit to this guy. I mean, it's really, a few years ago, SD cards and CF Express was brand new. SD cards, I mean, I'd say the importance of what we're doing today, really didn't exist. But today we're showing off Innergize, which is the first software utility that allows you to do health check, allows you to sanitize, and also allows, this is the most important thing, field firmware updates for the cards you have. This works with all of our readers. We have actually 2 new readers we've introduced, but it also works with readers that are in our existing Thunderbolt docks, our Travel dock, our Flex 8, our Gemini. You don't have to buy a new reader to get to have the benefit of Innergize, but we also have great new readers that also benefit from Innergize. But going to the field firmware updates, this year alone, we've experienced 2 cameras that effectively were not compatible with cars that already shipped, call it 5-6 months ago, that because Innergize allows field firmware update, you can just plug your existing cards in and you're good to go. Now, in the past, that might have meant having to buy a new card, and pretty much with anybody else's cards in the market, correct me if I'm wrong, you don't have that option. If you bought that card 3 months ago and a new camera came out with a change, or you found out that the camera you have isn't behaving right because of, honestly, maybe it's an issue with how the camera's set up, and then they release a new card, you have to either buy that card, maybe you have to send it in. With Innergize, you just plug it into one of our readers, which is also where you maintain, I'll tell you what Sanitize does, which is where you sanitize and do health checks, and with just a click of a button on a Mac or a PC, it updates that firmware. So you don't have to worry about, well, hey, I bought some new cards at work, I have some other cards that are older. With OWC's entire ecosystem, all of your cards are maintained up to date with full compatibility, full capability, and that Sanitize, unlike a format, does a factory fresh reset so that is just like that card was brand new. You get the same performance every time after a sanitize. Media cards need to be, oops, somebody just walked in front of your camera. That's okay.
They do all the time.
It happens at shows. Lots of great stuff on display here. But sanitize is more and more important today. Is these are like mini SSDs, they really are SSDs on these cards. And you don't have trim and garbage collection support on the cameras and even through most USB devices. So Sanitize, in fact, it gives that card that factory fresh performance that you otherwise won't have on any of the media cards. And when garbage starts to build up, they slow down, they start to create problems, or worse. So anyhow, this is the first of its kind, and it's something I think will take maybe a little while for people to really understand the importance of. it's having that field firmware updatability is absolutely critical today.
Farshid, I don't think that a lot of us appreciate the fact, I mean, we buy memory cards, and so we have a memory card, and we don't appreciate everything Larry just said. And I've had that happen where a card went bad, I didn't know it, and I lost some content. So this is something that is, and I don't do this, not full professional. So yeah, this is pretty important.
Yeah, it's frankly revolutionary what we are doing in the industry. On top of that, when I joined OWC, I was really excited to enable this capability to work not only on the new readers that we have introduced today, but just to make sure that regardless of which device you have at the OWC, they are all going to be enabled. Some of them, they could have an older chipset, but we offer firmware upgrades so that the user, in a matter of a minute, they can actually upgrade the device firmware, including, for example, this latest and greatest CFX reader that supports both USB and Thunderbolt. But even though we shipped it in November, in order to enable it with Innergize, people have to take 1 minute to go through the instructions and upgrade the firmware on it, and then it will communicate directly with Innergize.
We were talking to Sam earlier about the new dock for the iPad, and
it's not just for the iPad.
well, yeah, but the point was that theoretically you could be editing media right off of the cards if you have the need with these docks.
Absolutely, positively. I mean, it's amazing how fast the cards are, and what the dock enables in terms of its all combined workflow. And yeah, customers literally kind of said, why even transfer the data off the card into the iPad when you can edit right on that card? And with Sanitize, again, you're going to keep that card fresh after the work is done. With firmware update, it's always up to date. With the health check, you also always know, what the capability, what the status of the card is. You're not going to be surprised with a card cars last a very long time. But if something happened to it, if there's something else going on, you have that visibility to know, hey, either it is time to replace the card or the card is good. Or, hey, Sanitize, usually cards don't go bad, they just get dirty. Sanitize, again, the moment you sanitize a card, it's as if you bought that card brand new in terms of its performance. And to Farshid's point, we're not making people buy brand new readers. You have to have an OWC reader, an OWC Atlas card, and Innergize for all those things to work together. You don't need our reader, you don't need our application to use our cards like anybody else's cards, but the benefit from Innergize, you do need our reader ecosystem. And that's not because we're locking people out. It's simply because we've actually engineered, there's special code, there's special software on our cards, on our readers, and of course with Innergize, it all work together to enable these functions. And the cards in the market today, with possibly one exception, don't even have one of the features that we now enable in Innergize. And for compatibility, and this is what we always do with OWC, we don't make you have to buy all brand new OWC gear to get our latest and greatest. As Farshid noted, we're doing firmware update. This one's 6 months old, so he bought it last fall. It's updatable. He bought our dock 6 years ago. You'll be able to update our docks, our Thunderbolt 3 docks, to support Innergize. So we're anything that can be there. We have the Gemini, we have the Flex 8, we have different readers. Our travel dock, which has an SD reader, all of these solutions are Innergize compatible with a firmware update that's free from OWC and is being made available.
Pricing on these?
Our SD cards start very inexpensive.
I want to focus on the pricing of our new readers and maybe the capabilities. So we have an introductory price of $79.99. But one of the things that I would like to highlight is the fact that we designed this from scratch with professionals in mind. So professionals, they don't like to carry extra cables in their bags when they go on important projects. So what we did, we designed this with capability that you can actually tuck the cable in, and then when you are back in your home office, we put capability in here so that you can actually use your own cable regardless of the length and your setup that you have. And we also put a write protect switch in order to prevent accidental deletion or formatting of the card. And it's ironic that we designed all the software with intelligence built in, so it knows, and if this write protect switch is on when you want to do sanitization of your cards, it will tell you that this write protect switch is on, so you have to disable it. Or if you have a SD card that has the mechanical switch, it knows it can distinguish between the right protection of the SD card versus the reader, and it gives you proactively information so you can go and correct it yourself when you have challenges and issues.
Those are the nice little touches that distinguish OWC.
Yes.
Yeah, just a simple little cable wrap, but the option to not cable wrap. Very nice, gentlemen. The website, of course, where all this is.
You can go to OWC.com and find it all. And really, all this stuff is really simple. It's about your data, it's about longevity of what you're using, and it's about not having to worry. As long as you use Innergize, very simple. It's a couple clicks, and you're always going to know you're up to date. Your card is healthy, and you've got a clean card that's going to give you best performance. And when you capture that moment, you know that moment is going to come in, clean, free, and fast.
Excellent.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Farshid, what kind of boss is he?
Very open-minded, down to earth. Couldn't be happier.
Perfect answer.
Yeah, really. We'll get the real answer off camera. Folks, I'm Chuck Joyner at NAB. Thanks for watching. Visit MacVoices.com for show notes and to connect with Chuck on social media. Get involved in our Facebook group or like our Facebook page, and get more out of your Apple tech with MacVoices magazine, free on Flipboard and on the web. And if you find value in it all, consider supporting us through either our Patreon campaign at patreon.com/MacVoices or by making a one-time donation via the PayPal link on our front page and in the show notes of each episode. You will join these fine people who help bring you Mac Voices. Advertising handled by Backbeat Media at backbeatmedia.com. Bandwidth provided by CacheFly at cachefly.com.